Hello, and welcome to another episode of I Didn't Know That, the show that may make you say, I didn't know that. I'm your host, Chad Hale, Clinical Practices Supervisor for Pathways Community Mental Health. On today's show, we'll be discussing SAL completion under the COVID-19 rules. Back in March of 2020, in response to the COVID-19 pandemic, MDHHS instituted a wide range of changes in allowing most of the services we provide to suddenly be provided via the telephone and over video platforms. Prior to this, only a handful of services could be provided over video, and even then, there were strict requirements on the location of the provider and the receiver of the service. Basically, both parties had to be in a designated office space. With COVID-19 changes, these restrictions were lifted. This meant that providers could deliver services while working from home, and that those receiving services could participate in them from their own home. Later, MDHHS also loosened the requirements on how long the service had to be before it would qualify as reportable or billable, meaning services that are reported in 15-minute units would only have to be over a minute long to have a unit be reported. Today, I would like to offer information to help you accurately document whether you provided a service or engaged in an indirect activity. If you have not watched the episode on SAL completion, please stop this video and do so. That episode contains foundational information that you need to know in order for this video to be helpful to you. Okay, so as always, accurate completion of a SAL starts with the answer to this question. Does what you did meet the definition of a service? This starts with your knowing the service definition from the Medicaid Provider Manual and how your actions fit within that, or do not fit within that. Pre-COVID, how the activity happened also would guide this. For instance, if you were coordinating and linking over the phone, the activity fit within the service definition, but the way you were doing it did not, because targeted case management was not a service that could be provided over the phone. So it was an indirect activity. This is one of the areas that has been fundamentally changed during COVID. The COVID rules gave us two new place of service options, COVID-19 telehealth video and COVID-19 phone audio only. Selecting either of these new options indicates that you provided a direct service, a reportable or billable service. They should only be selected if you provided a service. With that in mind, let's start with the COVID-19 telehealth video. Arguably, using the COVID-19 telehealth video as place of service is pretty straightforward. If you are meeting with an individual served over video, it is highly likely that you provided a face-to-face service. As long as what you did falls within the definition of a service, it is a service that you would select face-to-face, client present, COVID-19 telehealth video. Note that for services like family training, the attendance option may be different. So basically, if you are providing your service, and the only difference is that it is taking place over life size, then it continues to be a face-to-face service with the COVID-19 telehealth video option. Determining whether or not a phone call is or is not a service is trickier with the COVID rule changes. Generally, phone calls that are aimed at confirming appointments, handling scheduling details, and the like would continue to only be phone calls and are recorded as indirect activities. If, however, you are engaged in an action that you would have otherwise met in person to do in the past, then it is likely a service. Keep in mind that what you did, i.e. what you talked about, still needs to fulfill the purpose of the service that you would be reporting. If the purpose of the phone call is to provide what you would have otherwise provided in person and meets the definition of the service you would be providing, then it is a service and should be SAL'd as face-to-face, client present, COVID-19 phone audio only. Again, for certain other services like family training, there may be some variance in what this looks like. A new wrinkle in providing service over the phone is the allowable, and I quote, if a beneficiary is unable to communicate over the phone, these activities may be completed with a guardian or other representative of the beneficiary that is familiar with their needs. This allows for services to be provided via the phone even when the person served is nonverbal or otherwise not able to participate in the phone contact. To be frank, there's not much guidance on this, Not anything beyond the bulletin that it was sent out in, but I believe that it is meant to address people who are unable to participate due to limits in communications or some other ability versus someone just choosing not to participate. So we should be thoughtful in its use and protect against broadening how often we are using it. I recognize that this specific training is pretty late in regards to where we are in COVID, and that you may realize that some of your past SALs may be incorrect. If that's the case, they can still be fixed going back as far as October 1st. So if that is the case, please talk with your supervisor, Amy in billing, or myself. We can figure it out together. I also know that this is all pretty confusing, and there's been a lot of information coming at you over the past year. Hopefully this format is helpful to you in addressing some of the gaps that may have come up. Thank you for your attention. If you have any questions about this topic or would like to learn more, please contact me and I'll be happy to help you with that. Also, if you have any suggestions for future topics, please pass them along to me. In the meantime, I encourage you to be curious and ask the hows and whys of what we do so that you may know more. After all, knowing is half the battle. Until next time.